I do think that there is a universality to like a woman, having a young family and a partner and trying to figure out, is she in the right place, and is she, does she have enough communication with her partner to know, what he's actually up to when he's not with her? Can she trust her partner? Like, yeah, I think that it was important that that seem real, but these are such subtle, nuanced situations that I could only, really do service to, hopefully do service to this character.
Rashida, I wonder for you, I mean, I wonder how much you felt the relationship that you had with Bill at the start, by the time you started shooting this informed the chemistry that you kind of have. Because there is such a beautiful intimacy that I think, couldn't happen for two actors that maybe meet on day one on set.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have. I don't think I'm a good enough actor to to fake that. And luckily we do know each other and like each other and are friends and have worked together and admire each other. I know, I guess, sometimes you get lucky, but I think Sophia's eye in seeing that was sort of like, it was great for us because it meant we could show up on day one and have a rapport, um, which I do think is so important to the movie. But also I think because, you know, Bill is a force and he's iconic and he shows up and he changes the atmosphere of a room. And I think had I not known him well, I would have just been too nervous and I would have never been able to, you know, um, push back. And it really required there to be like an equal force on both sides. So I feel lucky that I know him. And by the way, there's so much of him that's still a mystery to me too. But now that I've spent time with him, like I know some parts of him, so I can like tease him and rib him and he'll take it from me.
He was really upset that he wasn't playing Rashida's leading man, but then get over that. But it's true that he could just take over because he's such a big personality. So we needed Laura to have the strength to counterbalance it and really be a partnership, which not anyone could do. So I was lucky. And also, yeah, and I feel like you can convey so much just with just your face without saying anything, because he has a lot of dialogue, and there's some things there's nothing to say to them, but I feel like your look conveys so much, and there's that rapport between you.
That's the first time in my life that served me well. Most of the time it's just like, oh, can you just hide the way you feel, please? Just try.
I do think it's just an extraordinary chemistry you have. And the other aspect of this film that I really want to ask about before I open the floor to questions is, well, I suppose we have seen stories before of women who have suspicions that prove to be incorrect, and I think generally they are castigated for having those suspicions. And I love that this film doesn't judge Laura by the end of it. First of all, I love that the film ends in the way it does, where we come to realize that, her fears were unfounded. But second of all, that it's not judgmental about those fears, and actually as well that it brings us along with Laura. We can see what she sees in the evidence, and that's a very fine line to weave, I think. And I wonder, Sophia, can I ask about just constructing that?
Oh, I'm so glad. I mean, I always want the audience to feel like they're along with the character and seeing through their point of view. And I try to be close to them as opposed to being away and looking at them. So, and that's part of, working with Rashida and making, her making the character relatable, and then also how we film it, hopefully to do that. And I wanted to kind of look at those classic comedies like The Awful Truth and My Favorite Wife, but there's a lot of times there's a mix up over infidelity and husband misunderstanding and kind of this classic comedy. So I was looking at that, and also The Thin Man, which I love, like they're on a mystery. But so so I plot is not my strong point, but I tried to have enough that you would go along with their adventure, and it's rooted enough in something. And having Marlon Wayans, who's so lovable, and you hopefully you're invested in the family, so you want it to work out, so you go along with her. But so yeah, I wanted to have a little bit of a mystery surprise, and just the idea that how you can get carried away with things, and obviously Felix is stirring this up, and she's in a vulnerable state at the beginning, so you believe that she might go along with this, and him egging her on to spend time with her, and finally, I guess just having to have those confrontations and look at things, at relationships at different states. So so much can be built on misunderstandings, and also having a character like Felix stirring it up too.
Absolutely. Rashida, for you, what did you make of?
I like the character doesn't change at the end, but she goes through, she kind of comes back to life. She had kind of been lost and rediscovers herself that you can kind of misplace along the way.
Absolutely. Rashida, for you, I wonder, can I ask you what it was like for you to kind of experience that balance that Sofia strikes there, what you make of it, and why you think it works so well in the film, because it really does.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sophia and I were kind of equally and separately obsessed with this woman, Esther Perel, who's like a relationship expert, and I think what I like so much about her is that she talks about kind of like living in the middle, and also who you are in your relationship has so much to do with how you participate in your relationship or don't participate, or are suspicious or aren't suspicious, whatever. So I feel like that's, to me, like the lack of judgment. The thing is, Laura's having a crisis, of confidence and self-worth in her own life, and it manifests itself in this kind of double thing where she gets to spend time with her charming father, who has taken over at times in her life in a way that she's like relieved, because it means she can be like the kid again. And then also she's like projecting her insecurity onto her partner, which I think is like a very common thing to do. And in a weird way, like, I don't, no spoilers, but whatever the result is of that is almost not the important part. Like the journey of her, like having to find her own life and voice in her relationship with her father, and also committing to communicating in her relationship, that feels like the stuff that's important. And it's just like the journey to get there. So, and it was just something we just talked about while we were filming a lot, just making sure that it always feels balanced, that we're never kind of tipping over the edge in any direction, and that kind of is suspicious, but I'm also kind of in a funny place. And you know but I think that it was apparent in Sophia's writing and the way that she handles things, because there's a delicate nature to the touch on it, so it doesn't ever feel like you're tipping too much in one direction.
Very much so, very much so. Right, look, I want to open this up to the audience now, and we have some questions coming through here. So I'll start with this one. Sophia, if you could give one piece of advice to new directors, filmmakers, what would it be?
Oh, my advice would be to make what you want to see, and to trust your instinct and trust your gut, and just make what you want to see, and don't try to think too much. Don't second guess yourself too much.
Fabulous. We have a question for Rashida as well. Did you feel a particular responsibility while portraying Laura in order to truly capture the experience many women face as they go through similar experiences portrayed within the film?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, all I can really be responsible for is making it feel personal and true, to the character. I mean, that's where but I think, and all these situations are so different. I do think that there is a universality to, like, a woman, having a young family and a partner and trying to figure out, is she in the right place, and is she, does she have enough communication with her partner to know, what he's actually up to when he's not with her? Can she trust her partner? Like, yeah, I think that it was important that that seem real, but these are such subtle, nuanced situations that I could only, really hopefully do service to this character.
This question from Sigmund is very interesting, because it's obviously you shot the film before COVID, before the lockdown, but even within the fabric of the film, it feels like an incredibly nostalgic piece. So the question here is, how do you both expect the film will be interpreted a decade from now? Because it On the Rocks inadvertently, he says, feels like a nostalgic take on New York, even though it's set pre-COVID.
Yeah, I think to me, Felix is sort of the last of an era before us of these all these kind of old bars that they go to, and Gentlemen, and the way he treats women, good and bad. So to me, it had a nostalgia of looking at sort of a romantic idea of old uptown New York that is sort of, you know, fading, and she's living downtown in another world, and kind of visiting Felix's world. So even going into it, we were having this idea of it, hope, you know, dipping into that world where he talks about Bogart and Bacall, and kind of the last of this era of gentlemen of this kind of generation. And then of course we never realized that being in restaurants and seeing New York like that would be, you know, on hold. But hopefully those places, I don't know, we'll keep going. But it's looking back on kind of him being the last of this certain kind of way of life. And so we went into it with this kind of romantic idea already, and it seems like it's been compounded by the fact that the world has changed so much since then.
Absolutely. This is a question for both of you, and Rashida, maybe you could kick us off on this one. It says, you walk a fine balance between comedy and drama, writing stories that are ultimately very funny and profound, even if not necessarily straight out comedies. How do you find this balance as a writer, Sophia, and as a performer, Rashida?
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I don't. Please go ahead.
I have to say, I in life, to me.
Oh no, sorry.
That's okay. The dog actually wants to answer this question. I find the darkest, toughest times in my own life, I have to make a joke. I have to find comedy. I have to find levity. So they're always connected to me. And my favorite kinds of movies and TV shows are ones that can seamlessly marry those two things. And the thread for me is like the honesty. Like, you know, is it an honest moment? Because in an honest moment, it can be pretty sad and then very quickly pretty funny. And I think like this movie is a great example of that, because my life, my whole livelihood, my family is on the line, but yet we find time to, you know, crack jokes and, you know, talk about these kind of big theories about men and women and eat caviar. And I think there's something about that that's like, that's very true to life. You know, you're not always, when you're grieving, you're not just sitting with your head in your hands. You're also like making jokes and remembering fun times. So to me, the things I love the most are I don't like things that don't allow for any levity. Like, I don't like melodrama. I like things that if you make it, holding for dog. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure this is not the first time anybody on a Zoom has had a dog barking, and not the last. But anyway, so yes, I find that like if you create like a atmosphere where both are possible, like that is for sure my favorite type of thing to work on.
Yeah, I agree. And I love those are the most kind of true to life to me too, because there'll be something that just the timing of the way life is, that something ridiculous will happen, and you know, it's a sad moment always mixed with something funny, and it's always this kind of little details and moments that feel the most true to life. So I think those are my favorite, was when they're mixed together, because that's how they exist in life.
Absolutely. These questions are so great, and I'm so sad that we're running out of time here. But obviously, you know, it is the 20th of January. An important world event has gone on, and we have a question here. Now that you have a new president, what do you hope for the future of your country?
Oh, just a simple question, just a quick little question about your hopes for your future and your country. You know, I have to say I was really moved today about the call to unity. And I think, you know, there's been a sowing of discord for the past couple of years. And that's not to say we're all going to agree on where we want to go and what we want. But I think I have like a little glimmer of hope that, you know, there are things we have in common, and there are things that we want. Everybody wants kids to have a future um, and be safe and you know, prosper and have and be free. And I feel like those today I was feeling the call to unity very strongly in a way that made me feel like, oh, maybe we can come together, maybe we can find some things in common that will they'll bond us in our mission. I'm hopeful today.
I have to ask as well. I do wonder how much you think, given that Joe Biden, I think, like played a little cameo role on Parks and
Yeah,
Recreation back in the day.
I saw a tweet today that said Joe Biden is the first cast member of Parks and Recreation to become president.
That's great. I wonder what you think Leslie Knope is up to today. How excited she is.
She's so excited. I'm sure she's like, my favorite thing is that she's so physically attracted to Joe Biden and objectifies him in a way that probably like not a lot of people are doing today. So she's, you know, she's all geared up over there, I'm sure.
Fabulous. Sophia, do you want to add anything?
No, I think Rashida put the ball. I think the idea of unity, and I'm hoping like just to be able to hopefully to participate in the world again, and the idea of yeah, finding commonalities and friendship is really hopeful.
Well, on that beautiful note, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. But I want to thank you all at home for joining us for this event, and I hope you'll join me in thanking the brilliant team behind On the Rocks, Sofia Coppola and Rashida Jones.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was nice to
Thanks
talk
for
to you.
having us. Thank
You
you.
too.
Stay
Bye-bye.
safe, everyone.